cheeky vegans. Vegan cooking is cooking without animal products. Today I'll show you how to substitute milk and egg for other products and how that affects your recipe. To know how to substitute it properly, you first have to know how eggs and milk contribute to the making of the bread. Egg has two functions. The egg white gives the dough a light, airy texture. This happens because the egg white contains lecithin, which is a protein. The protein lines the air bubbles created when the egg is beaten. This prevents the bread from collapsing when baking. If you are beating the whole egg, then it has a different but similar function. The lecithin in the egg holds the bread together by acting as a binder. Also, the egg can be used as a moistener instead of adding water. To substitute the egg, you have to find a food with similar characteristics. Acceptable substitutes are bananas, silken tofu, yogurt, baking soda, and buttermilk. These products give the same effects that eggs do, but with an advantage. These products have less fat and cholesterol, and for vegans are acceptable to eat. Milk is more simple to substitute. The function of milk in a recipe is to hydrate proteins, starch, and leavening agents. When hydration occurs in the recipe, this causes an absorption of the liquid and chemical change essential for the texture and structural development to occur. Milk also aids in the browning of the bread and adding flavor. Liquids in a recipe are also used to raise the volume of a recipe. The volume is raised because when put into the oven, the milk vaporizes, and the steam expands the air cells of the bread, which raises the final volume. Substitutes for milk are fairly well known. Substitutes include soy, almond, and rice milk. These liquids have similar effects on bread while cooking, while still adding flavor and volume to the bread, and are acceptable for vegan cooking.
To make our vegan banana bread, you will need bananas, oil, agave nectar, whole wheat flour, salt, baking soda, and wheat germ. First, mix together 1½ cups of whole wheat flour, a ½ teaspoon of salt, a ½ teaspoon of baking soda, and ½ a cup of wheat germ. Once you've mixed together your dry ingredients, pour them into the bowl of wet ingredients, which include 3 ripe bananas mashed with a fork, a 1/4 cup of oil, and ½ a cup of agave nectar.
It really is a personal preference when it comes to using a metal or a glass pan. Some people prefer metal because it creates a nicer crust, it browns the loaves, and it also creates more oven spring, causing the bread to rise. It conducts heat more rapidly, especially darker pans, because it has a lower heat capacity. The specific heat capacity is the heat energy that's required to raise 1 gram of a substance by 1 degree. We, however, decided to use a glass pan. It's very important to remember to grease it before you put your foods in it, as foods stick easily to glass. Also, glass pans are recommended for foods with eggs and acidic ingredients, as these ingredients can react with metals such as iron, aluminum, or tin and can discolor the food. It's also easier to see how the food is cooking or browning while it's in the oven. The glass has a specific heat capacity of 0.2 calories per gram. Also, glass has really good thermal conductivity. This means that it can move heat energy through the pan to other parts of the pan evenly. This is why when foods are cooked in glassware, they cook slower but more evenly. This ensures that the edges do not brown or burn before the middle is cooked completely through.
Now place your banana bread into your preheated oven of 375 degrees Fahrenheit for any time between 20 and 25 minutes. Now the banana bread is in the oven for 22 minutes. This is an endothermic process because in this case, the end product, which is the banana bread, is absorbing energy in the form of heat and has more heat energy than that of the original ingredients, which are the reactants. In this case, the heat that is being absorbed into the bread comes from the heat from the surroundings, which is the heat from the oven. Also, in an endothermic reaction, bonds are being broken. We know that this is not an exothermic process because in an exothermic process, heat is being released into the surroundings. This would have occurred in a process such as freezing water. Other examples of endothermic processes include cooking eggs and melting ice.
The way banana bread cooks is through the transfer of heat energy in the oven. Specifically, this transfer is called convection. Ovens have been created to cook food by convection currents. Convection is the heat transfer by currents of fluid. This can be water or gas. The fan towards the back of the oven regulates the airflow, and this is responsible for creating the currents.